This is a very difficult video that I decided to shoot, and I don't know what I'm aiming to get out of it, but I think it will be part of my journey to healing. So on the 8th of March 2005, I lost my mother. So I'm gonna take it back to, I think, 2004 October. My mom had gotten a new car, and yeah, she drove it for a few months. So yeah, so at that point my mom was working a job where she was traveling quite a lot. So she would travel. She was an avid facilitator. So if you don't know what an avid facilitator is, this is someone who teaches people or adults how to read, write. Yeah, basically that's what it is. So my mom used to do that. So she worked for a company. At the time I think it was called Wholesome, and right now it's called Afrisan. So she worked there. So on like Monday she'd go to a specific place, Tuesday she'd go to another place. So every Monday she was at one place, every Tuesday she was at another place. So every day of the week she was going to different branches. So it just happened that on the 8th of March, on the day that she passed, she was coming from the plant in Witbank, and I think on that day she was going to Olifants that afternoon. I don't remember. And that evening I think she was supposed to go because she had actually bagged a second side hustle job or something in property. So on the 8th of March she didn't come home, and there were some nights where she wouldn't come home. She would work overnight sometimes. And so this one day didn't really feel like anything specific. I went to school the next day, she wasn't back, so I just carried on, you know. And then I remember a friend of mine, when I told her that morning, I was in grade 7, guys, when this happened. I was 12. And that morning I told a friend, I said, no, my mom didn't come back yesterday. And then she said, are you sure that nothing happened to her? And I was like, no, okay, no, I don't think anything, because my mom sometimes works 2 jobs and then doesn't come home. And I never thought anything of it at the time, till the afternoon of the 9th of March. My sister, my cousin, fetched me from school, and she didn't really have an expression on her face at the time, so I didn't really think anything, but I was wondering why she was fetching me from school. Found it odd. So we drove. My school wasn't far from where we lived, and so I got home. I saw a few cars, but at the time I still couldn't make out what happened. And so we got home. I asked questions. I think I asked her and I said, but what's going on? Why are there cars here at home? And she didn't really want to answer. So I eventually got into the house. I put my bags down, and so she put me in a room in the house, and she just said, okay, there has been an accident. Still didn't understand, and I said, okay. She said, there's been an accident with your mom. And then she kept quiet, and I asked, and I said, so which hospital is she at? So in my head I'm not thinking like anything happened to her. I just thought, okay, so which hospital are we going to? Where is she? And it was that moment where she just couldn't bring herself to tell me that my mom was no more. And she eventually said, you know what, your mom is not around anymore. She didn't survive. And I'm still trying to piece it together. like everything was such a blur after that. And I remember, I think it was on the same day, later on in the day, when my dad came back with my aunt. I saw my dad like looking so somber. So I think they had obviously gone and confirmed what they needed to go and confirm and identify. And yeah, it was confirmed that she had an accident and she was coming back from Woodbank and she didn't make it. So the days leading up to her burial, so like on the day of the burial, where you would see the body, and in traditional sense, to see before you do your last send off. We didn't get to do that on the day of the funeral because it was just so bad. Like I can't even like describe how graphic it was. But we were taken to the doctor before, like a few days before the burial. We were taken to the doctor, got some medication. So I think this medication sort of suppressed the feeling of what had just happened. And so I so then we went. The only way we could see her as the family was to go see her at the morgue, because they said they wouldn't be able to show her on the day of the funeral. And when we got to the morgue, because I had taken those tablets, I couldn't cry. She was there. It was her. It was the hair that she had, and she was stitched up. Like, it was quite severe. I'm not even gonna like get into the graphics of it, but it was a very bad accident. There was no way she could have survived it, and she was driving on her own. She had a tire burst, so she wasn't able to control the car, and that's how she got the accident. And the car hit a barrier. So yeah, anyway, so on the day of her funeral as well, I was sad, but I don't think it had hit me until after the burial. Weeks after that, I was really, like, I remember I was in primary school, as I said, and there was a day when I was in class, so I don't remember what was happening, but I just broke down. Like, I cried so hard because I don't think at the time when I was meant to cry, or at the time when everything happened, I don't think I let out what was really going on. And I remember there was a support group that was at school, and that one day I just went there and I thought, okay, I'll be brave. I went, and that's where I let out every emotion that I was experiencing. And I think since that day, it was so hard, it was difficult. It's hard, guys. It's hard losing a parent. I mean, you're 40, like 12. I was 12. I had just turned 12 in December 2004, and I lost her in March. And yeah, it was just so difficult. I can't even lie. In that same year, we were living. It was my dad, my sister, my grandmother, and myself. And that year, my grandmother went and lived with my aunt. So now it was just my sister and my dad. And there was a point where I had to adjust to staying at home alone after school, and even that was such a big switch for me. So yeah, that's how I lost my mother. And I never really spoke about it. Like, I went through high school, and so many changes. I don't even want to get into the details of the changes that I experienced, but there were so many. And I think I don't think any ordinary teenager would have been able to deal with the kinds of things that I dealt with. I think for the longest time in high school, I was quite upset. I was quite angry. I was literally going through the motions. Can you imagine? You've just entered puberty. You're now in high school, different environment. You're meeting all these people. You're coming into all different kinds of situations, and there are questions that you want to ask, but you can't ask. I couldn't ask my mother. She wasn't there to answer the questions that I had, and I had so much anger for like the longest time. And yeah, you know, went through the whole of high school without her until this day. Like, the pain is so, so painful. Like, I don't know how I survived, but all the moments started happening in my life where I became independent in a sense. I got a job, got the things that I got, and it was just one of those things where I still have questions. I still have questions, and I sometimes don't get the answers, and I just need to wing it, you know. I just have to wing it. Even today, or like till this day, there are some things that happen, and I'm like, but I think this person would have been the perfect person to, you know, to answer some of the things that I'm going through. But yeah, I'm 28 now, and you know, like, years have gone by, and I'm doing this video now in March because this is the month that she passed. And there was a day last week when she came into my dream. So on the day that she died, on the 8th of March, I didn't really do anything. Like, I wasn't emotional. I was just, it was like, okay, it's a day, this is the day, and I carried on. But on the morning of the 10th of March, that was a very weird thing that happened, where she came into my dream and she gave me a very important message that I didn't understand, or I couldn't translate at the time. And I remember I was so emotional in the dream because I had forgotten the sound of her voice. Like, it was so hectic. And then I woke up, but the message had come to me, and I called my aunt that day, and I said I dreamed about something, and I sort of tried to translate the dream to her and the message in the dream. And yeah, that was that. So yeah, it was just one of those things. So yeah, I mean, back in primary school, there was a time where I went through a very difficult phase where I struggled with acceptance, in a sense. I didn't have a lot of friends. I struggled with friendships. I struggled with so many things, but luckily, some of the things that I did experience, she was there for me. She was there at the times when I really needed her to be, and I'm truly grateful for that, you know. So it's tough, but I've gotten to where I've gotten, and I'm just grateful for the lessons that she's taught me in the time. And it still is tricky getting up, because I look for solutions sometimes, but she was such a driven person, and some of the things that I do or think about is because of how she was. Like, how would she handle A, B, and C? So yeah. So I wrote a letter to my mom, and it's so interesting because I feel like the month of March, I feel closer to her in some way. Maybe it's a reminder from her to say that she's always with me through everything that I do. And if I get emotional through this reading, please understand, you know. So yeah. Hi mom, it's me. I know I've knocked on your door a few times, and this is one of them. I decided to write to you because I felt your presence so much lately. It's the month of your passing, and for some reason, I think of you a lot more during this time. I miss you so much, but I know that you're in a safe place. You left when I was only 12, and now I'm 28. So yeah, time really does fly. I feel so grateful for the years that I got to experience you. I remember the last song that played on repeat on the Sunday before your departure, which is Alicia Keys, Loving You. I believe so strongly that my baby girl would have loved you so much, so dearly, and her personality is so much of you. You taught me so much about confidence, standing up for my truth, and to be happy. You stood by me at a time when I suffered judgment, being bullied, and just having a difficult time with adjusting to growth. I thank you so much for everything. When I got my very first period, you made sure that I felt comfortable and that I didn't freak out. I'm so glad that you were there for it. You did your best to raise me the best way that you knew how, and I appreciate you for all that you are. You pushed me to do my best and to achieve more. Thank you for speaking to me when I need to hear you. I'll talk to you again soon. Love you always. So yeah, I wasn't sure, like I said, how I wanted this to turn out, but this is basically a tribute in a way to my mother, to say that I always remember her. I'll always remember her. She had such a beautiful heart. She was so bubbly. Funny how I remember one of the scents that she used to use at the time. So she used the fragrance called, I hope I'm not butchering the pronunciation, but it's called Tabashia by Justine. And I think I just need to buy it because I've been wanting to buy it for years, but I just kept putting it off. So I think now's the time to just buy it and let it be a memory that I have of her. And yeah, I mean, I remember at times she would play Phil Collins, so I can't even confirm if that was her favorite artist, but yeah. So yeah, guys, if you've never known how I lost my mom, that's how you know now. And a lot of people say, Terani, but you're so strong. I'm like, I'm strong, but behind closed doors, I have moments where I cry. I have moments where I don't know what to do. I don't have solutions for everything, and my life hasn't always been rosy, but I tried to make sure that I didn't let her passing define me, because I think it's very important to her that I do well and not to wallow and always question why she isn't around, and because I know it would upset her if she just saw me moping and not making active changes to like make my life better. So a lot of the things that I do, I dedicate to her because I know that she's still with me in spirit, and I'll never forget her memory. I try here and there to mention to my daughter, I'll show her pictures and say this is my mom. But yeah, now as we talk, as I talk to my daughter, I just say my mother in love is my mother. You know, sometimes not to cause any confusion, but she just believes that my mother in love is my mother. I treat her as such as well. And yeah, guys, please don't take the relationships that you have for granted. I mean, I wish she lived in a time like now where technology is so is like taken over to a point where you'll find that you've got so many memories of your loved ones through videos, through photos, and I wish I had those kinds of memories with my mom. But yeah, that's it. I thought I was gonna speak more, but I'll close it there. And yeah, I miss you, Mom.